INEC's neutrality has been questioned yet again. Do you worry that INEC is dealing with a very big integrity question going into 2027?
I think it's fair to say that INEC definitely has a big credibility question hanging over it, and I think this has always been true, but this is especially true going into 2027, especially given that the person who was the INEC chairman in the 2023 election cycle is still the chairman. So nothing functionally has changed materially. So that question mark definitely does hang over them. I think the bigger question mark than just the leadership of the INEC or its ability to conduct free and fair elections is also the political will of the current administration to even hypothetically create a situation for INEC to even have that possibility of carrying out a free and fair election. I think it's fair to say that based on the antecedents of the elements who are currently in power, I think that would be a very, very optimistic notion that they would knowingly and willingly create the conditions for them to potentially lose power. I don't think that's how these people operate. I spoke to people with knowledge, inside knowledge of INEC, and honestly speaking, it doesn't seem as if there is the slightest institutional ambition to change anything, to show anything different in 2027. If anything, it's looking as if there is appetite for things to get even worse. And to be fair to INEC, this isn't an internally driven thing. This is something that is coming from upstairs. I know it's called the Independent National Electoral Commission, but it's not really independent functionally speaking, because it's funding and then the appointment of certain key personnel are political decisions. And unfortunately, the people who hold that political power now are not in the slightest bit afraid to use that influence and wield it to sort of, influence the electoral process and things relating to the electoral process. So, again, not to give anybody's identity away, but I've spoken to someone who has very intimate knowledge of, for example, the shenanigans that were deployed, the internal INEC shenanigans that were deployed during the most recent election that was conducted. I believe it was the Edo State election. Based on that case study, if that template is deployed at a national level in 2027 election, then we're going to have a scenario where potentially whatever people actually, thumbprint on the ballot paper isn't going to have any sort of an impact on the result that is announced, because based on based on the information this person provided to me, the internal players, obviously on the instigation of political power, the internal players have figured out a way to effectively game this new electoral system that has been deployed with the IREV and the BVAS. These things that were supposed to be fail-safes and technologically foolproof, the internal players have figured out how to game these things, how to rig these things, and make it such that the numbers that have been predetermined or pre-allocated to candidates can be inputted and then made to appear as though these are the actual figures coming out of the electoral process. Meanwhile, they were not. And what really alarmed me about it is that this is not a very high-tech thing. This is not it's not about hacking machines or anything like that. This is a sort of biro and paper process, because despite the technology that has been deployed into the electoral process, there's still some sort of weak points between the polling units and the so-called collation centers. Within the collation centers, there are certain points where data needs to be recorded on paper, and at those points, it is the easiest thing in the world to simply swap out certain things, and then the data that could be used hypothetically in an electoral tribunal to compare from what is recorded electronically to what is recorded on the paper, for you to show that there's a discrepancy. Even that data, there's a way to rig it as well, such that it appears as though what was recorded electronically and what appears on the paper are the same, right? That is the scenario that we have. So, and the person who provided this information is an active internal player, right? This is not an outsider. This is not gist. right? This is not gossip. This is internal information. So if that has been deployed successfully in the Edo State election, I see no reason why it will not be deployed at federal level and across many other state elections in 2027.
This is quite alarming now that the game plan for rigging the 2027 election is now coming out in the broad daylight. So we're getting to hear that firsthand from David Hundeyin, that the APC's plan to rig the election with the help of INEC and also the coordination with the judiciary is now being exposed. So David Hundeyin just exposed to Nigerians the plans to rig the 2027 election from an insider. This should be very concerning to all of us Nigerians, whether you're home or in the diaspora. This plan by the APC to rig the 2027 election, allocating votes to the political parties and themselves, making sure that they come out as the winner, should be concerning to all of us, every single one of us. So, and he's spelled it all out completely. Edo State off-cycle election that happened recently is the blueprint. You know the way they rigged the 2024 election in Edo State? It's exactly what they want to do now again in across board. Write the results, allocate the results, making sure that during that transmission or that transmission of that result between the polling unit and the collation center, that time when the result is transferred, that's the point they do the swapping. And then make sure that it is so plain and simple. It makes it difficult for the judges to say, no, nothing here. So you can see the game plan already. So David Hundeyin is spelling that out completely to all Nigerians. This is the plan to rig the 2027 election. INEC is in on it. The administration of Bola Tinubu is in on it. Edo State's off-cycle election is the blueprint. So what are we going to do? We have to speak up. We got to sensitize others. We have to get to everybody on time. This political party, APC, has no willpower, no political willpower to get you to vote them out in 2027. Nothing. The president said, he said power is not served a la carte. If the president can tell you when he was a contestant that you have to go get it, run with it, steal it, run with it, and then whatever you do with it, you think he's going to let you come get it for him for free? It's going to sit right down there, destroy the system as long as it makes him president. As the system is already being destroyed under his watch anyway. So David Hundeyin is right. If you look at the game plan, everything is actually looking towards 2027 being rigged already. If they can make registering a new political party something that is as simple as meeting certain criteria and conditions and guidelines, what do you think will happen during the election period when a lot more is at stake? Listen, just like Dele Farotimi mentioned, and David has actually now confirmed as well, do you think this political party would put a condition in place for you to help vote them out in 2027? That's not going to happen. I'm saying that to say this, as much as I believe that electoral reform is the way to go for us, as much as I believe that if we do electoral reform, which will remove all of these, manual transmission of power and results from polling unit to collation center and to the announcement, all of those in-betweens where they used to rig and steal the elections, I do not believe that this government, this political party will let Nigeria have that will. I don't believe so. As long as they've rigged the court, as long as they have control over the INEC, as long as they have control over the judiciary, that's all they need. They will just keep recycling themselves. So there's no political will. That David is clear and correct. The INEC insider that the person that he uses as his informant from within is actually correct, because you can see that play. We saw how he played out in 2024 in Edo State. We saw that how he played out. We saw how the judiciary is complicit in all of this. Because as it stands right now, it's not going to be a free, fair election. The judiciary will still be part of the process. The judiciary will still determine who our president will be in 2027. And judiciary will still, because they already bought over. That's why they're building judges' quarters for them all over the place. Which judge will get a judge quarter or judge property and then would now say rule against the ruling party and they won't evict out of the place? Which judge? They know when they're inducing these people, they know what the outcome will be. They use state funds to give them judges' quarters, and then they induce them. They're friends with them. Their children are friends with their children. You think they're going to vote them out of power? No way. And by the way, their own children have become judges too as well. So how do you think that would have actually panned out for the normal Nigerian or for the other political parties? And you can hear what David said. The order is coming from upstairs. The people who are planning all of this. So David just exposed to Nigerians the plans of the APC and INEC to rig the 2027 election. It's as simple as that. And Edo State is the blueprint. And the judiciary is going to be part of the entire process. We rig it during the transmission of the result between the polling unit to the collation center. And then we use the judiciary to certify the result. And that's it. He becomes a legitimate president again. And that's how our system has worked against Nigerians for as long as we know democracy to be. And the APC is not willing to change that. You don't expect a government that can steal an election in broad daylight to let you vote them out of power. That's not going to happen. So we have to make up our mind. We need to get to those guys that we use as polling unit agents. Those guys from the NYC. Those are the people we're going to be targeting. Because the idea of electoral reform for this guy is clean and clear. It's plain and simple. They're never going to allow that to happen. I don't expect that to happen. I won't hold my breath for it. So we need to keep campaigning for electoral reform on one hand. On the other hand, make sure we sensitize other Nigerians. Please don't be part of that accomplice. Don't be part of the accomplices to rig the election in 2027. The hand of incompetence is long enough to reach everywhere. That's the quote of Randy Peter Aka. And I'm only just paraphrasing as well again to you.